The biggest mistake Formula One fans are making right now is assuming the 2026 regulations are going to level the playing field. Because buried deep inside those new power deployment rules is a truth nobody wants to say out loud. The drivers who rely on brute power, late-braking heroics, and point-and-shoot exits are about to struggle. And one driver, almost accidentally, is perfectly built for what's coming next. Max Verstappen. Not because of Red Bull, not because of politics, but because of something far more fundamental: how he uses the throttle. And once you understand this, the 2026 era starts to look a lot less fair. The fear across the paddock isn't really about the engines, it's about control. In 2026, Formula One cars will deliver power in a radically different way. Roughly a 50-50 split between the internal combustion engine and electrical deployment. More harvesting, more deployment phases, more moments where the car is no longer doing what drivers instinctively expect it to do. And when that happens, the throttle stops being a pedal and becomes a negotiation. Most drivers treat throttle application like a switch. Max treats it like a dial. And that difference could decide championships. Here's the uncomfortable part. Verstappen's greatest strength has never been outright aggression, it's restraint. So data analysts who've studied his telemetry over multiple seasons consistently point to one thing. Max applies power earlier, but more progressively than almost anyone else on the grid, especially on corner exit. Where others spike throttle to chase acceleration, Max feeds it in millimetre by millimetre, keeping rear slip just below the threshold that triggers instability. That's not style, that's engineering sympathy. And 2026 is about to reward it brutally. Think about what the new power units demand. With electrical deployment capped and harvesting heavily regulated, drivers will no longer be able to lean on peak power whenever they want. Energy deployment windows will be shorter, more situational, and far more punishing if misused. Dump electrical energy too aggressively and you don't just lose efficiency, you lose it for the next straight, the next lap, sometimes the next sector. That means throttle mistakes will compound, and Max almost never compounds mistakes. But here's what nobody is talking about yet. The new rules are expected to increase rear instability on corner exit, especially at lower speeds, less downforce, heavier batteries, higher ride heights. All of that pushes cars closer to traction limits. And that's exactly where Verstappen has built his entire career. Low grip, unstable platforms, cars that move underneath you. This isn't a challenge for him. It's home. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, don't be shy. Hit subscribe now. Think of it as energy harvesting for the algorithm. Unlike 2026 F1 cars, it actually works reliably. Now here's the contradiction that makes rivals nervous. Verstappen's throttle control looks calm, but it's ruthless. He's not slow on exits, he's efficient. In seasons where Red Bull didn't have the strongest straight line speed, Max routinely gained time by being earlier on throttle without triggering traction loss. That skill becomes priceless in a world where electrical deployment depends on stability, not bravery. The smoother you are, the more energy you deploy. The rougher you are, the more the system takes away from you. Drivers who grew up in eras of massive downforce learn to lean on the car. Max grew up learning how to catch it, karting on cold tyres, aggressive setups, loose rears. His throttle technique evolved to manage chaos, not dominate stability. And the 2026 rules are introducing controlled chaos by design. But let's escalate this further. The new regulations also introduce more variability lap to lap. Power availability will change depending on harvesting success. That means drivers will need to constantly adjust throttle maps, corner exits, and deployment expectations in real time. This is no longer just about driving fast, it's about thinking fast. Max doesn't react to cars, he predicts them. He's already managing power delivery like it's limited. Others are about to be forced to learn that habit under pressure. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you saw Max spin because he applied throttle too aggressively? It's rare, not because he's conservative, but because he senses grip earlier than others. Engineers talk about feel. Max has an unusually high sensitivity to micro-slip, that moment just before traction breaks. That's the exact moment 2026 cars will punish drivers who overshoot. And here's the part that should genuinely worry everyone else. Verstappen has already been driving as if electrical deployment is fragile. Short bursts, precise exits, minimal waste. He doesn't need to change, others do. Quick reality check: if you're still watching, you're already deeper into this topic than most F1 pundits. So do me a favor and tap like. It tells YouTube this isn't another highlight clip. It's something smarter. Now, before we jump to Act 2, here's the cliffhanger nobody likes to admit. If throttle control becomes the deciding factor in 2026, some of the grid's most celebrated talents could suddenly look ordinary. Because Act 2 is where this gets uncomfortable. Drivers who rely on late braking and explosive exits are going to struggle. The new power split reduces forgiveness. In today's cars, you can get away with aggression because downforce and hybrid deployment mask inefficiency. In 2026, inefficiency is punished instantly. You lose deployment, you lose straight line speed, you lose race position. And worse, you don't always know why. Max thrives in environments where feedback is subtle and margins are thin. He's already been described by engineers as driving the traction limit rather than reacting to it. That matters when the car stops warning you before it bites. There's also a psychological angle here that nobody is prepared for. Throttle mistakes feel personal. When a car understeers, you blame setup. When it snaps on exit, you blame yourself. Drivers under new rules will second-guess their instincts. Max doesn't. He trusts feel over theory. And in a regulation reset, that confidence compounds. And let's be honest, the field isn't equal mentally. Some drivers will chase deployment numbers. Others will chase lap time. Max will chase flow. And flow is what the new regulations secretly reward. Here's a stat worth sitting with. Over the past seasons, Verstappen has consistently ranked among the lowest in wheel spin duration per lap, despite often running aggressive setups. That's not coincidence. That's throttle discipline. In 2026, wheel spin doesn't just cost tyres, it costs energy. And energy is lap time. So what happens when rivals try to copy this? That's the trap. You can't learn throttle feel overnight. It's built through years of driving uncomfortable cars. And many drivers have spent their entire careers avoiding that discomfort. This is where fear creeps in. Not fear of Max being fast. Fear of Max being efficient when efficiency matters most. We're heading into a season where races may be decided by who wastes the least power, not who has the most. And that flips the hierarchy in ways fans aren't ready for. Before we reach the final act, let me ask you this. Do you think 2026 helps natural field drivers more than technical drivers? Drop your take in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where you stand because this debate is about to explode. Act 3 is where the consequences hit. If 2026 unfolds the way engineers expect, Verstappen's throttle control won't just be an advantage, it'll be a multiplier. Every lap, every stint, every restart. While others are managing systems, Max will be managing grip. And grip is faster. This doesn't mean he'll dominate immediately, but it means when others struggle to understand why they're slow, Max will already be adapting. And that's how gaps are born in Formula One. Not through raw speed, through clarity. The final irony, the rules were designed to reduce driver advantage, to make racing closer, to equalize power, and they may end up highlighting the one driver who's already mastered limitation. So when 2026 arrives and you see Max pulling clean exits while others fight their cars, remember this video. It won't be luck, it won't be Red Bull magic, it'll be throttle control. And if you want to understand how this same skill could decide entire championships, you should watch the next video on your screen, where we break down why unstable cars always reveal the real elite drivers.